3rd, 2025. Well, a lot's been going on recently in the UAP issue. Several things. First of all, I might mention that I did appear on the in the space show on April the 29th, where I had a 90-minute interview with David Livingston, the host, about my viewpoints on recent developments in the UAP subject, a lot of which are more broad and a little bit more historical than what I'm getting into here, where I'm going to really kind of get into some things that kind of happened since then, which are also significant. Um, First of all, uh, George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell and their Weaponized podcast have finally interviewed the Immaculate Constellation whistleblower, a man named Matthew Brown, who apparently was a consultant who worked at the Pentagon and I think the Office of Secretary of Defense, um, and um, and anyhow, of course, we know that this was a big topic in the House Oversight Committee hearing last fall, in which the Immaculate Constellation, this 12-page document that this Mr. Brown had written, it became a major topic of conversation at that time. And so while he was anonymous up till now, he's come forward finally. They were talking for a long time. Some more were. Well, this one did, and his face is not blurred. The name is not withheld. I think that the government knows who he was before he came forward, which may be why I decided that coming forward might be the best thing to do at this point. So anyhow, so it was an interview. This is part one of an interview. There's a part two coming up, but I've watched part one so far, and I think the other one's not out yet. But the point is that we have a little bit of insight into who this individual is, and the beginning of how he got into the whole disclosure business. And apparently, he was a highly cleared individual, I guess, with top secret SCI clearances you'd have in the intel world there. And apparently, he did have an ongoing interest in the UAP topic. And any rate, one day he was apparently doing some routine work, basically looking through documents on a secret level server, if I understand it. I'm getting that the classification this was just secret, I believe, and no special anything. And apparently it was a part of his job, I guess, to file documents that were out of place and so forth, to where they ought to go to. And he ran across one that seemed interesting, which apparently was titled something like Shriver War Games. And the Shriver is today is a Space Force base. At the time, it was part of Air Force Space Command. It's in Colorado. And anyhow, he was looking at this document, and apparently, as he got into it, the next thing that there was a cover sheet there that said Immaculate Constellation, but didn't really indicate it was a special access program. Apparently, it is a unacknowledged special access program, which shouldn't have been on a secret serve, I guess. And then as he gets into it, the next they come to a picture of Lou Elizondo and say that this Immaculate Constellation was created in the aftermath of Special Agent Lou Elizondo revealing the existence of the ATIP program. And then as he gets into it, the next thing he comes across a triangular shaped craft over that's over I guess more than multiple Russian naval intelligence vessels in the Pacific Ocean off of Kamchatka, and and uh, and so this intrigued him. Apparently, he'd had a previous interest in the subject because of the revelation of ATAP and so forth, and the videos, and he'd also seen videos on Air Force, I mean, excuse me, on intelligence systems of pictures of things like orbs and so forth. So he was aware of the subject, but he was a little surprised at this, and then we read through it. And anyhow, this has apparently started his trip into the world of disclosure, and apparently there's a lot more to come. And I'm not going to go into all this stuff. You can follow the episode on weaponized. I can put a link in the description below for that if you're interested in going into the detail of it. They go a little bit in his background and everything and so forth. But I think this is sort of interesting. I had mentioned previously that the fact that Corbell had brought this individual into a congressional offices supposedly covertly, and I'm kind of like, there are cameras in those facilities for security purposes, and since they know that a whistleblower had been in there, it was told on TV and on YouTube and everything that he was there. I mean, obviously security could probably find out who he is, and I get the feeling that they did, and that may be more of the story when we get into it as to And anyhow, we do have a new whistleblower who will join David Grush and others, and we'll see, how that goes. But if you like these videos, please give me a like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, and you can of course follow me on Rumble, and the address is in the description below. So yes, so that's kind of the development here. We'll see. I thought that one of the things that's interesting to me about what he discussed there was that this was categorized as an ARV or an RV, and of course, this reminds me, of course, of this Mark McCandlish story that's been around for years about the Norton Air Base display of the three ARVs, which apparently stands for Alien Reproduction Vehicle. Although in the show they kind of debate, they don't know what the A stands for, so maybe it just means reproduction. It suggests reverse engineering of an alien technology, which I have previously stated in various things, that I don't believe we have the capability, or any country on earth has the inherent capability to copy this technology. And so that leaves me with some suspicion. The other fact is that the document itself, it was characterized as a war game, leads me to wonder what kind of a war game. But whatever suspicions I might have about that, I think we should withhold for now. The key thing is the story is developing. We've only heard the first installment of hopefully many. There's going to be at least two. I hope more than that. Get more into depth on this, and then we'll have a better idea. Um, I, but it is interesting that that this guy has come forward, and I guess now when Luna does have her hearing, maybe he will be brought in to testify. That would be good to have him testifying in person, rather than just having a document. That would make it kind of interesting. So, and we'll just have to see how it develops. I'm kind of wondering, will he be arrested? I mean, actually disclosing a USAP is people have gone to prison for a lot less. On the other hand, as I've said, I don't know if anybody's ever been indicted or prosecuted for revealing a UFO secret. Now, what else could have happened to him for that's another topic. So, and the other thing that developed, which is kind of interesting, was this, it's related to Representative Luna, is that they actually had a roundtable discussion with experts, in quotes, and there's some experts there. Lou Elizondo hosted it, and the organization, I guess he's kind of the head of, I guess that's about disclosure, any disclosure fund or something like that. And they had a variety of people there, along with some Congressman Luna, Burchett, and the guy from Tennessee. But at any rate, he didn't really say a lot there. But anyhow, the other point is that we had Elizondo, we had Dr. Avi Loeb of I guess Harvard emeritus, and we have Admiral Galloway, or how I pronounce the name, and then we have Tim Galloway, and then we have the Dr. Eric Davis, who is the author of the famous Admiral Wilson memo, if you remember that, which is very relevant to disclosure, I would say. And of course, and that was the that was one of the panels, and we also and they of course, some interesting stuff came up. Of course, Lou Elizondo did present a photograph that some pilot had taken, which has now led to all the debunkers, the Mick West team, are yucking it up because I think they've been able to find that it was actually an optical illusion, apparently. It wasn't, as I pointed out, that Elizondo made no claim about it at all, other than that it came from a pilot. Well, it hadn't been vetted in any way, and well, although it looks to me like something was probably above the ground, as my initial impression. I can kind of see how it's certainly the pictures they have are not the same, but it could be the ground is different when the picture was taken compared to where the current Google Maps were taken. So it's not no big in my opinion. It wasn't if it was valid, it wouldn't prove a lot, and if it's invalid, it doesn't prove anything either. But the interesting materials, I guess now we've got Eric Davis on the public record vouching for the Admiral Wilson document, which I think we all knew was pretty well real, but okay. And of course, Admiral Wilson, I believe, has denied that this conversation really occurred. But then in the document, he said if anybody ever revealed it, he would deny that it occurred, which he should probably. Um, so, at least from the point of view of his own career well-being, perhaps. And one of the interesting thing, of course, one of the things the admiral had presented, which is interesting, is that uh, when the Go Fast video first showed up, um, there was that's been appearing before. It's nothing new there. That the they got a request, what is this, so to speak, and then the next day somebody had erased it from his computer. Some, like some security sleuth had gone there and released without even saying anything, and after that, nobody would talk about it. So I guess somebody figured out what it was and thought we shouldn't talk about it, right? And that's one of the things also that Mr. Brown brought up too, that apparently in these high levels that people are sort of aware of this stuff, but they know not to talk about it. It's like I guess So anyway, that apparently clued him into joining the disclosure effort eventually, wondering why people were not worried about these threats to air safety and so forth as they're considered. One of the interesting parts of this thing was where Eric Davis is trying to discuss the technology he speculates is behind the UAP, and had some interesting reactions from Dr. Loeb. Remember, Avi Loeb is perhaps a really world-class astrophysicist here. I mean, former chairman of the Harvard department there, of astronomy. This is and while Eric Davis is a accredited PhD from the University of Arizona, but he has tended to work in, let's say, areas that are a little bit into the unconventional, the whole OSOP and ATIP and that those areas, and a lot of this tends to be a bit speculative. I mean, where the other is really more rigorous, if you will. And I just thought it was interesting the discussion where he was trying to explain how that using general relativity could explain the craft, and I could just see the other guy getting ready to go in there like, some of the stuff you're saying isn't really established yet. Oh, do you think I know something about general relativity, perhaps? I don't know. But anyway, but I was getting the same drift he was, like, maybe you're a little out there, folks, although it could be, but we really don't know. And but you got to kind of speculate because we're probably, a little bit above ourselves on this. Um, but it was an interesting meeting. The sound quality was just bad as heck. The photography was not so good. I mean, they had slides being presented, but the camera wasn't looking at the slides when they were presenting them, so we couldn't see what they were talking about. Um, Really, they could have did a better job of organizing the presentation of it. But if you turn the sound up enough, and then all of a sudden the applause just blows your eardrums out a little bit, and then you have to turn it down so you don't disturb the neighbors. And anyway, but but it was for somebody like myself that does follow this very carefully. It was worth following. And then they had other panels there. I guess we had Chris Mellon was there, and so he made his presentation. And then we had Kirk McConnell, who was a Senate staffer who had heard a lot of these whistleblowers' testimonies previously, and then we had finally Mike Gold of NASA, and Anna was it Birdie Estevez, I think is of the National Science Foundation, and they kind of gave their insights into it too. One thing that she mentioned, I'm taking a little objection to, and that was, of course, I know there's stories like this, but I don't buy the theory that there's been a whole lot of successful reverse engineering that's affected our actual technology. They threw out the possibility of the transistor and the laser as being two examples. But based on my knowledge of physics and stuff, I am very doubtful because, I mean, let's say that the Roswell event, or maybe a prior event like the one in Italy, okay, the U.S. government got a hold of it in 44 on the Italy thing and 47 in the other. The idea that the transistor shows up, I think, is an invention of 47. I just don't think they would have got it that quick, even if it was in the UFO, so to speak. And I'm not sure that the UFOs has transistors in them either, by the way, but we'll leave that aside. And then again, you deal into the laser. I mean, that kind of goes back to some work that goes all the way back, I would say, to Einstein in 1917, theoretically that is, and Dirac and his original radiation theory papers in 1927. And all that had been kind of out there, and then people began to see how you could do stimulated emission of radiation. The early versions were masers, actually using microwaves, not light. And then later on, they had what they called optical masers, which they eventually renamed lasers around 1960. And to me, this is an evolution again of human effort, over time. So I'm not sure I'm prepared to give the ETs credit for this, unless, but think what you want on that. But I do believe for sure that there are objects in our possession, and that they're certainly flying over the skies. So anyway, I'll wrap this up for now. I think this is a very interesting set of developments this week, and we'll just kind of keep on. So I'll be putting this on YouTube and Rumble as always, and the addresses of my social media accounts are in the description below, so you can look for me to repost various things from time to time between videos. All for now.